of the late Inspector Walter Yamato. Honorable Speaker, the member for Kitutu Masaba constituency, Honorable Clive Gisaro, has sought for a statement regarding the delayed release of autopsy report of the late Inspector Walter Yamato. The honorable member particularly sought to be informed: 1. Under what circumstance did National Police Service dispatch officers from the Kenya Police Service, including the late Inspector Walter Yamato, to the Republic of Haiti despite a High Court order barring the government from deploying Kenya Police Service officers to the said nation? 2. Why it has taken inordinately long for the autopsy report of the late Inspector of Police Walter Yamato to be released to the family? 3rd, when should the family expect to receive the autopsy report and have the body of their loved one repatriated for a decent send-off and in order to find a closure on the loss of their loved one? Mr. Speaker, I wish to report as follows. 1. Under what circumstance did National Police Service dispatch officers from the Kenya Police Service, including the late Inspector Walter Yamato, to the Republic of Haiti, despite a High Court order barring the government from deploying Kenya police officers to the said nation? Honorable Speaker, the late Chief Inspector of Police, personal number 2008-070-300, Walter Yamato, was employed on 4th April 2008 as an administration police service officer and has been in active service until his unfortunate demise. Honorable Speaker, the High Court ruling dated 26 January 2024 laid out the procedure that the government of Kenya should engage regarding any interest of deploying National Police Service personnel in any foreign country. Pursuant to the court ruling, the late officer was among the team of Kenyan officers who traveled to Washington, D.C., USA, for a consultative meeting on the process to be undertaken in ensuring strict conformity with the legal requirement prior to such deployment. Therefore, the late officer was neither traveling to Haiti as alleged, nor did the National Police Service deploy any advance team to Haiti as purported. I wish to table copies of airplane ticket.
Thank you, Honorable Rasso. Clive?
Honorable Speaker, it is continuing.
Okay.
Why it has taken inordinately long time for the autopsy report? Honorable Speaker, the late officer died in a foreign country, United States, which prompted the need to establish the cause of his unfortunate death before the body could be flown back to Kenya. Upon completion of the autopsy, the report shall be given to the family in conformity with the Kenyan laws and on the right of privacy. The family of the late shall be given the medical report without arbitrarily being deprived of the same as guaranteed by Article 31 of the Constitution. This shall be done in a manner to ensure that authority releasing such information does not contravene the family's fundamental rights under the Constitution, which guarantees their inherent dignity. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member asked when should the family expect to receive the autopsy report and have the body of their loved one. Mr. Speaker, the body of the late officer arrived in the country on 7th March 2024 and was received by the family in the company of senior officers in the National Police Service. He was laid to rest on 15 March 2024 at his home in Nyamira County. The autopsy report shall be availed to the family once received from the U.S. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Rasso. Clive, do you have any issue with the statement which you requested?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. However, much I may not be very much satisfied with some of the responses given. On the first item, they have tried to answer the question of the mission in which the Officer Yamato was involved in. Yes, he was not destined to Haiti, but the discussion and the agenda of his trip had to do with sending our police officer to Haiti, which I do believe is open for a wider discussion. On the second and third question, Honorable Speaker, Yamato passed on sometimes towards mid of February. His body was received in Kenya and buried in mid-March, a month later. I attended the burial. It was right in my village. Honorable Speaker, as we speak today, a month later after the burial, the family is yet to receive the autopsy report. I didn't seek a statement on who did what. My statement was on what was the cause of the death of Inspector Yamato. So if we are saying that 2 months later, the government does not know what killed its officer, whether it was a heart attack, whether it was a stroke, whether it was poisoning, that is all we want to know. What led to the death of Inspector Yamato? Mr. Speaker, 2 months down the road, the government is waiting for a response from the United States of America. This leaves a lot of questions, more than the answers given. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Rasso, do you have the autopsy report?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I understand the concerns of the Honorable Member, but I think the issue that we both must understand, this officer died in a foreign country, where that information of autopsy may not necessarily be released to the government, but even if that is done, the person who must receive the information first is the family. I think the response by the Honorable Minister is very clear, that we must respect that the family must be given this information in confidence. But as it were, we even spoke to the CS that is in contact with the Kenyan embassy in Washington, so that they are able to get this autopsy report. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Wandai.
You know, this saga, Honorable Speaker, surrounding the death of Inspector Yamato, raises a lot more fundamental issues, not just about Yamato now, but any other Kenyan officer who in future might find themselves in a similar situation. Honorable Speaker, I think the relevant persons, through the chair, should take this matter a bit more seriously. You know, Honorable Speaker, it is thoroughly agonizing for a family to lose a loved one, and 3 months now almost, nobody is telling them what caused his death. You know, that is a simple thing the Honorable Gisairo is asking for. And the question of what took Inspector Yamato to the Washington, D.C. is not yet addressed. Because, Honorable Speaker, Yamato was a fairly junior officer by all standards. So the country, least of all the family, deserves full disclosure. Even if we talk about national security issues. But we deserve full disclosure at what was the role that Inspector Yamato, a fairly junior officer, going to play in Washington, D.C., if not Haiti? These are questions that have to be answered now or later, Honorable Speaker.
I think as a committee, we'll take it upon ourselves to make sure that we get the autopsy report as soon as possible. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.